Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and you are watching Kumar Programming. Today I am starting a web series on unit testing, writing code in Typescript and nodejs by using Mocha as a testing framework and Chai as a assertion library. We are going to use some other important library like Sinon and Nock in our upcoming videos in this series. So before proceeding this video, let's see what prerequisites are required. So you should be having knowledge about TypeScript as well as Node.js. However, if you are aware about JavaScript, then you can proceed since most of the syntax from TypeScript is similar to the JavaScript. And if you are not aware about TypeScript and Node.js, then I would suggest to go to my YouTube channel and watch the web series for Learn TypeScript and Node.js step by step. In this web series, I'll try to make each and every topic as simple as possible so you can understand each and every topic and your concept would be clear. I'll provide the GitHub link for the code of this entire web series in the description below so you can get the reference from there. After completing this entire web series, I'm pretty much sure that you would be able to write unit test case in TypeScript Node.js by using Mocha and Chai. So now let's see what all the topics that we are going to cover in this entire web series. So first of all, we are going to have the introduction on unit testing and we will see what is Mocha and Chai. Right after that we are going to do the installation and writing our test suite and test case and then we will execute it. And after that, we are going to cover Chai and what are the different assertion styles used in Chai. And then we will see what are the common Chai assertions are there. And further, we are going to cover Mocha hook. Basically, we are going to cover before, after, beforeEach and afterEach. And after that, we are going to cover nested test suite. And further, we will cover skipping and focusing on test. And then after that, the very important library as a Sinon, which is being used for spying, mocking and stubbing. And further, we will see our asynchronous testing by using async and await. And also we are going to see our testing for promises. And then we are going to use a Nock library, which is going to mock our API call and data. And further, we will be writing test case for get and post method for our API. And last but not the least, we are going to how to execute the code coverage and reporting by using our nyc-Istanbul tool. So now let's start. So first of all, you are required Node.js. So what is Node.js? Node.js is an open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment. Before Node.js, JavaScript was only executable at the browser side, but with the help of Node, we can execute outside of the browser. So in order to write the test cases in Node, you have to download it. And you can go to the download section. You can download it from here, whatever operating system you are using, either Windows or Mac. Okay. Now the second important thing is that we are using the TypeScript. So basically TypeScript is a strongly typed programming language that build on JavaScript. So basically TypeScript is mainly written on top of JavaScript by adding types to it. Okay. So TypeScript is more strongly typed language. Now come to the Mocha. Mocha is a feature-rich JavaScript test framework running on Node.js and in the browser. So basically, Mocha is a JavaScript test framework that is being used to write the test cases and execute them. And we can install Mocha by using the command npm install savedev. Savedev is basically install as a dev dependency and Mocha. Now let's see the third library that's a very important library as a Chai. Chai is a BDD and TDD assertion library for Node and the browser. Okay, so now you'll be thinking what is BDD and TDD. So basically BDD is behavior driven development and TD is test driven development. So basically in BDD test cases are written by a non-technical person at a very high level, but on the other side TDD is written by the developer at a very low level, considering each and every test cases. Chai is having many assertion style like should, expect and asserts that we are going to cover in our later upcoming video. Now in the next section, we are going to create a node application and we'll do the basic setup for TypeScript as well as we will install all the required dependency and we will write our first test suite and test case and then after that we will execute them. In this section, we are going to create a node application and we are going to do all the basic configuration and further we will install all the required dependency and eventually we are going to create our first unit test case and execute it. So now let's see here. I have created a brand new application as a Mocha Chai unit testing. Now let's go to our terminal. So in order to open the terminal, we have a command as a Control J or control backtick. You can use any one of them. So first of all, we have to check if we have installed node.js in our system or not. So we have a command as a node-v that is going to give the current installed version of node in my system. So if you see, currently I am using 18.16.1 version. That is the latest version as of now. Now further we have to configure our application. So we have a command as a npm init. This is going to create our package.json file with our initial configuration. So I'll go with all the default value here. Author I'll give as a Kumar. Now if you see here, my package.json file is created with the default configuration. Now here if you see, main file is given as a index.js. So we are going to make it as a ts because we are going to create this application in Typescript. Now here we will create an index.ts file. Now further we are going to install all the required dependency. So we have command as npm install. So we need Typescript, and then we need Mocha, and we need Chai. And if we are using the Typescript, so we have to install its type as well. So we will add types for Mocha and types for Chai. Since we are making this application in Typescript, so we need TS node as well. TS node is basically an engine that execute your Typescript code inside Node without pre-compiling from Typescript to JavaScript. And all these things required in our development purpose only. So we will install as a dev dependency. So here save dev. Now install it. Now if you see here, my package.json file has been updated with all the required dev dependency. Okay. So here we have Chai, Mocha, TS node, Typescript, and types for Chai and Mocha. Now let's configure our Typescript as well. So here we have command as a tsc-init that is going to create a tsconfig file with all the default configuration. So if you see here, created a new tsconfig file with all these configuration. Now I'll go to the tsconfig file. So I'm going to use only default configuration. So I'll remove all the commented section over here. So yeah, these all of the things are not required. Now here we have all the basic configuration for our Typescript. Now further we are going to create our source folder as well as test folder. So here I'll create a folder as a source src, as well as I'm going to create a folder as a test where I'll write all the test scripts. Okay. Now I'm going to create a very simple class over here in my source folder. So here in my source folder, I'll create a file as a calculator.ts, and inside this file I'm going to make a class as a class calculator. Right, and in this calculator class we are going to have four methods: add, subtract, divide, and multiply. Okay, so now add method, I'm going to pass two parameters in this add method, as a as a number and then b as a number, and I'm going to return a number. Okay, and return a plus b. Very simple, isn't it? Similarly, I'll write other method for the subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, so here subtract, where I'm going to a minus b, and similarly I'll do for the multiply a, and I'm going to multiply a into b, and here I'll write multiply, and we will do for the divide as well, where I'm going to divide a divided by b. Okay, and here we will give as a condition, if b equal to 0, then we are going to throw an error. Okay, new error as cannot divide by 0. Okay, cannot divide by 0. That's all. So our class is ready. So in this class we have four functions: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, now further we need to write our test cases for our this calculator class. So we'll go in our test folder, and here we will create a file as a calculator.spec.ts. Okay, here whenever we are creating our test file, we should always ensure that we are having the same folder structure as we have in source folder. This is not mandatory, but that would be the best practice, to have the same folder structure in our both of the directory. Now come to the spec file. So now let's understand that what exactly we are writing to our test script. So if you see, if I'll just make a diagram over here, this is my application. In this application, we can have multiple test suite. Now I'm going to create a test suite. So this is my test suite 1, this is test suite 2, and this is test suite 3. So this test suite can be created by method of a describe. Okay, now in this test suite we can write multiple test cases. Now I'm going to write our test case here. One test case, two test case, three test case. Okay. Similarly, here also we can write multiple test cases, and in this test suite also we can write multiple test cases. So, and these test cases are written by method it. Okay. So we have our application. Inside our application, we can write our multiple test suites, and each and every test suites are having their own test cases. Okay. Now you understood about the structure, how we can write the test cases. Now let's write our first test case here. As I said, we can create our test suite by using method as a describe. So here describe, and the syntax to write the describe. First of all, we have to give the name as a parameter. So here we are going to test calculator class, and the second parameter that we have to give as a fat arrow function. That's it. Okay. So now I have created a test suite as a describe test calculator class. Now inside this test suite, we can create multiple test cases. Okay. So here I am going to write my first test case by using method as it. And here also we can give description for this particular test case. So this should return sum. Okay. And similarly here also we have to pass the fat arrow function. And once we are writing our test cases, we have to keep in mind three things, 3A pattern. Okay. The first A is arrange, second one is act, and third one is assertion. Okay. So now in arrange, what we will do, we are required to create an instance of our calculator class. Okay. So what we will do, we will import our calculator class. So import calculator from source and then calculator. Okay. We are getting here, since we have not exported it. So here we will give default calculator. Okay. Now in our spec file, if you see, now there is no error. Here we will create an instance of our calculator class. So const calc equal to new calculator. So now here we have created instance of our calculator class. Now we need to do the action. So here inside our act section, we are going to execute our add method. So here const result equal to calc dot add, and we are going to pass here 2, 3. Okay. So we know that once we are passing our two variable 2 and 3, it's going to return 5. Okay. Sum of all these two parameters. Okay. Now we are going to write the expectation. So here in our assert section, as I told earlier, in Chai we have a multiple assertion method that we will discuss later on in our videos. But now here I am going to use expect. So here I am expecting. Now see, this is automatically imported from Chai, and what I am going to expect is result to be equal to 5. Okay, result to equal 5. That's all. So our first test case is completed. Now similarly we have to write the test case for our other three methods, for our subtraction, multiply, and division. Okay, but before that, let's run it and see if this is working or not. Now let's go to our package.json file. So here if you see, inside our script tag we have test. So now we are going to update this. So in order to run our test cases, we have to write our Mocha. Mocha is responsible to run our test cases, and then we have to register our node require, and then we need to register our TS node, because we have written in Typescript TS node register, and we are going to execute all our spec file inside our test folder. Okay, so here we will give test and then star dot spec dot ts. So this is going to execute all the spec file from our test folder. Okay, now here we will write our npm run test, npm run test. Now this command is executing. So if you see here, my test case is passed. Okay, should return sum, and that is being passed. So now let's go back, and here if suppose that I have written over here as a 6. Okay, and now let's run it once again. Now this is going to be fail. Okay, why? Because the once we are adding these two values, it's coming as a 5, but what we have given, it should be 6. Okay, we are expecting this result to be 6. Now see, it's being failed. Expected value that we have given 6, but actual value is 5. So this is actual value and this is expected value. Okay, so that's the reason it got failed. Now further we will write the other test cases similarly, but before that, how you can see your code coverage, that you can identify how much code that we have covered so far for our testing. So in order to do that, we have a reporting tool as a nyc-Istanbul. So I'm going to install that. Npm install nyc. Okay, as of now I'm just showing you how we can see our code coverage. Later on in our upcoming videos we will see nyc reporting in detail. Here I just want to show you how we can see our code coverage. So now our nyc is being installed. Go to our package.json. Here we will write before Mocha as a nyc. Okay. And now if we run our npm run test, so now if you see there is a folder generated as a nyc output, and here you can see how much code is being covered. Okay. So far statement that we have covered 28.57, function 25%, and lines 28.57%. Okay. And here we can see what all the lines are not being covered. Okay. These are uncovered lines. So we have to write the test cases for them as well. Okay. So now let's correct this. So this should be equal to 5. That is the expected. Now we need to write for the subtraction. So here we are going to pass for 5 and 3, and expected should be 2, and here we are going to subtract. Okay. Now this should return subtract. Now we'll write for the multiply as well. Multiply, and here multiply, and once we are going to multiply 5 and 3, it's going to be 15. And now we will write for the divide as well. Okay. So here should return divide. And once we are going to divide 9 by 3, the answer would be 3. Okay. So now if you see, we have covered test cases for our add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay. But this test case is still pending. Okay. We have not covered so far. Now let's run it once again and see if all the test cases are being passed and if our code coverage is being increased or not. Yep. So now if you see here, all of my 4 test cases are being passed from test calculator class suite. And if you see, my code coverage is also being improved. But if you see here, line number 13, and if you see, this is the line number 13, which is not being covered it. Okay. So we have to cover that line as well. So now go to the spec file once again. Now here we will write one more test case. Should throw an error while dividing by 0. Okay. What we have to expect here. Here I'm going to write expect in a different way. So expect, and inside this expect I'm going to call a fat arrow function as a calc dot divide, and inside this I'm going to pass parameter as a 10 divided by 0. So 10 comma 0, and this to throw, and what it should throw an error. Okay. The same error which we are passing over here. Okay. Cannot divide by 0. We are not required all those things here. No, we need to arrange this because here we need to instantiate our calculator class. Okay. Now let's see, we have covered our divide by 0 case as well. Now it should be 100% code coverage. Yeah. So now you can see all of my test cases are being passed, and we have done the code coverage for 100% for our statement, branch, function, and line for all the 4 sections. Okay. And there is no uncovered line. So in this section you have seen installation for all the required dependency, and then after that we have configured our application, and finally we have created our first test suite, and inside this test suite we have written our test cases for our calculator class. I hope that you guys understood about basic configuration and writing the test cases. Now in our next section we are going to see what all the Chai assertions styles are there and how we can write them. Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and you are watching Kumar Programming. In this video, we are going to talk about different type of Chai assertion styles. Okay, in previous video, we have covered about basic configuration as well as we did require dependency installation, and we had created our first test suite and our test cases, and we have executed them. Now let's talk about different type of Chai assertion styles. So mainly we have 3 type of Chai assertion style: should, expect, and assert. Now if you go to the official website chaijs.com, here you can see Chai has several interfaces that allow the developer to choose the most comfortable. The chain capable BDD style provide an expressive language and readable style, while the TD assert style provide a more classical feel. What does it mean? So in Chai, basically we have three type of assertion styles: should, expect, and assert. The should and expects are BDD, behavior driven development, and assert is a TDD style. Okay, that is a test driven development. So now you would be thinking about what is the difference between BDD and TDD, right? So mainly in BDD, users are writing the test cases at a very high level, and those test cases are going to be fail because we don't have the actual functionality. But in case of TDD, we are going to write the functionality and test them. So we have to pass our test cases in our TDD approach. However, you can use any one of them, whichever you feel more comfortable. All three of them more or less likely same. Only the differences we have in their syntax. Personally, I feel more comfortable in expect. Nevertheless, we are going to see what are the syntactical differences we have in all of them. Okay, and we will see how we can write them. Now let's go back to our Visual Studio. So in our previous video, we have already learned about how to write our test suite and test cases, and then how we can execute them and how we can see the code coverage report. As well as we have learned about 3A pattern: arrange, act, and assert. Okay, so in this assert section, we can write our assertion in all three style. Okay, should, expect, or assert. So now we'll create a separate test file here, and that we will give name as assert style .spec.ts, since all of our test cases files should have the extension as a .spec. Okay, and .ts because we are writing our test cases in Typescript. Now first of all, what we have to write, we have to create our test suite. Okay, so here I'm going to write describe, and in this describe I'm going to give the description as assert style, and the second parameter would be the function. We can write like this. Now in ECMAScript 6, we can replace this. We can just write with the parenthesis and fat arrow function. Now here inside our test suite, we are required to writing our test case by using it method. Okay, and here I'm going to give the description for this test case, and here I'll give expect assertion style. Okay, and here similarly we have to write a fat arrow function. Now inside this our test case, we know we are using 3A pattern: arrange, act, and assert. Okay, arrange, act, assert. So in the arrange section, I'm just going to create a variable as a const. Name would be type of string and the value would be Kumar. Okay, I'll take a number variable as well. Here I'll write const age would be type of number, that would be equal to 30. Okay, so I'm just arranging the different type of data so I can show you how we can write assertion for different type of data. Okay, now I'll take a object type of data. So const object data type of object, and here I'll assign a object as name Kumar, and second property would be age 30. Okay, now I'll take another data type as array, const array data type of array, and this array would be type of number. Now here I'll have 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, here we will take one more data type as a const boolean. So I'll take here as a bool data type of boolean, and I'll pass the value as a true. Okay, now we have taken a string number object and array of number and then boolean. So these all are the most common data type that is being used. Now further we are going to write the assertion for all these data type. Okay, now here we are not writing anything in act because we are focusing on the assert part. So I'm going to use expect first of all. So here let me make it as a capital expect. So let's first write for the string. Okay, if you see the string variable, what we can check, right? We can check if this name is having value. Okay, this name variable is a type of string, and this is not a undefined, it's having some value, right? These things that we can check. Okay, so now let's see what we will write here. Expect, right? This is the syntax. Expect, what we are expecting, name. Okay, to be okay, to be okay, that's it. Here expect needs to be imported from Chai, so we will import it. So if you see, this is auto imported from Chai. If you are writing this expect name to be okay, it means name is having some value. it's not undefined or it's not null. Okay. Now second thing we can check if name is equal to Kumar or not. Okay. So expect name dot to dot b dot equal Kumar. Okay. That's it. And the third thing we can check if this name variable is type of string or not. Okay. So expect name dot to dot be a string. Okay. That's it. Okay. So here I'm just considering the positive cases like to be equal to Kumar, and if you want to consider the negative test cases also, so here we can just write to dot not be equal to Kumar. Okay. So what we can expect here, to dot not, that's it, and it should not be equal to Kumar 1. So Kumar value is not equal to Kumar 1, that's true. Okay. So this case will be passed. If you have to write the negative conditions, just you can add not right after the two. Okay. So here I'm not adding the negative conditions so you can understand it easily. Now we will consider for the number. So let's go for the number here. Here age to be okay and age to be equal to 30, right? And age to be equal to number. Okay. Similarly, we can write for the object data. So let me proceed with the object. Here it would be number, object, here object data. So first of all, we have to check if object is okay or not, if it's undefined or null or not. Okay. So it's okay because we are having value over here. Now second thing we can check is object to be a type of object. Okay. So we will move it here and it would be a type of object. Okay. Now third thing, if you see here, we have this object is having property name and age. Okay. So we can check if this object is having property name and age or not. Okay. So here we can just write this object to have. Okay. Dot to dot have. Here we have own property also that we can use. However, we are going to use have. Okay. So have dot property. Okay. And the property name is name. And here in our expect style, we can do the chaining also. So here we will use dot equal. We are going to check two things, if this object is having name property or not, and if it is equal to Kumar. Okay. Equal Kumar. Similarly, we can do for our age as well. Okay. Age and equal to 30. Right. So this is the way that we have to write the assertion for our object. Now we will see how to write the assert for our array. Okay. Similarly, we are going to write for the array as well. So I'll just copy paste here. Control A, Control K, F. We will format it here. Now let's remove the terminal for now. So this is for array, and here we have array data. Okay. So here we are checking if array is not undefined. It's okay. Okay. Now second thing we are going to check if array is array dot to have dot length of 3. Okay. Since here we have array length is 3. Okay. So here we can check array length is 3. And what else we can check if it's include the value 1 2 3. Okay. So here we can do the chaining also, or we can write in a separate line dot that this array dot include. Okay. So if it include, you can write, you can check any of the value 1 2 3. So I'm going to write 1 2 here, and we can check if this array data is type of array. Okay. So here array data is a type of to be a array. Okay. To be a array. That's it. And if you want to check the negative scenario here, so this we can say this to not have. Okay. Simply we have to use not to not have length of 4, as well as that does not include. So here we can say that does not include. Here we can say 5. Okay, because 5 is not here. So this is the way that we have to write the negative scenario. Okay. Now finally we will cover our Boolean data type. So let me just copy this here, Boolean, and I'll take this bool data to be okay. So this bool is not undefined. Okay. Now this bool data is to be a Boolean, right? And this bool data should be having value as a true. Okay, so here we can check bool data to be true. So these all are very common assertion that we are writing for our these common data type. Okay, now further we are going to check with other assertion style, that is should. But first of all, let's see if everything is working as expected. So let's open the terminal, Control J. Now let's run this test. Yep. So now if you see here, expect assertion style is passed. So whatever expect that we have written over here, everything is being passed. We can write as many as expect over here. Okay. So now I'll write the test cases for should style. So I'll just copy it. I'll go quickly with the should. So here I'll write should assertion style. I'll keep all these variables same over here. The only difference here we have in should is instead of expect name, we have to write name dot should be. Here we are not going to use to. Okay, name dot should be okay. That's it. So we will replace all these things. Our expect name should be equal to Kumar. Name should be type of string. Okay. Now similarly we will do for the number as well. So here we will write age to be age dot should be okay. That's it. So I'll replace all this age should. Now similarly we will do with the object data type here. Object data dot should, and I will replace this object should everywhere with expect object data dot to. Okay. Now similarly we will write for the array data type as well. So here array data dot should be okay. And similarly we will do for the boolean data type as well. Bool data dot should to be okay. Bool data should be a boolean and bool data should be true. Okay. Now let me format the code. Control A, Control K, F. Now it's formatted. Now let's run it once again. See if all the should assertion style working as expected. So our test case is running for now. So here we are getting cannot read property of undefined reading B. Okay, so what is the problem? Yep, here dot two should not be there. Okay, everything looks good now. Here we are not imported should, so we have to import should as well from Chai, as well as we have to instantiate should. Okay, so here we have to instantiate should. Now it should be working fine. Now let me run it once again. Yep. So now you can see here our expect and should both have been passed. And if you go to the official website here, you can see here we have to instantiate our should, and then this is written in JavaScript, but if we are writing in Typescript, so we have to just instantiate our should over here, and then we can use our should assertion style. Okay, but in expect we are not required to instantiate it. Okay, now the third style that we are going to use as assert. So here this is the third one, assertion. So now let's see the example for the assert as well. Now we will copy this entire section from should, and here we will use assert. Okay, we will have keep as it is all of our variables. Now here first of all we are not required to instantiate. Here we will remove that, and then for the string we have to write in a specific way. Assert syntax is a bit different from other, so let me show you how we can write it. So here assert dot, and we will import this assert from Chai. So now if you see here on top, this assert have been imported. Now assert dot is okay. Okay, so here we have method for test all of our scenarios. So here we have to check undefined as a is okay. Okay, so assert is okay. What we are expecting, that assert dot name property should be okay. Now similarly we have to write for equality to check equality here. So here we will write assert dot equal. Okay, and what equal should be name should be equal to Kumar name, and in the same we have to pass as a Kumar. That's it. And how we can check the type here? So assert dot type of, okay, type of name should be equal to string. Similarly, we can write the number as well, that I'm going to leave up to you. You can write it, and we can write it for object. Here one thing we have a different is how we can check the property in object. So here in assert we will write type of object, that we can write it. Similarly here assert dot type of object data should be type of object. Now we can see how we can check the value, okay, in the property. So here we have assert dot deep equal, okay, and deep equal what we are expecting, this object data should be equal to this object, right? Okay. Now similarly we can write assertion for our array and boolean. Here I'm just assert type of array, and array data is type of an array, and this array data to be equal to this array data, right? And we can check if this array data include, so assert include this array data, it's including value of 2, right? And similarly we can write for the boolean data type as well. So this bool data type of boolean, and assert dot equal bool data is type, bool data is having, and bool data is equal to true, right? So this is all the common assertion type that we are using. Now let me run this, npm run test. See, now if you see our all the test cases from expect, should, and assert is being passed, okay. So now I think you guys have been learned about what are the different type of syntax we have in all the three assertion style. You can use any one of them, either you can use expect, should, or you can use assert, okay. I feel more comfortable with expect, so going forward I'll be using this expect, but if you are comfortable with should, you can use should, or you can use assert, okay. I hope that you guys understood about the different type of assertion style in Chai. So friends, in this video we have been covered about different Chai assertion style, assert, expect, and should, and we have seen what all the common Chai assertion that we are using for different data types. Now in the next video we are going to talk about hook. Mainly we'll cover before, after, before each, and after each hook, okay. And friends, if you are new to this channel, then please subscribe it and don't forget to press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and welcome back to my channel Kumar Programming. In our previous session, we have seen what all the Chai assertion style, different type of assert, expect, and should, and we have seen how to write the common Chai assertions for all these three styles, for assert, accept, and should as well. Now in this session, we are going to learn about hooks. Mainly, we are going to cover before, after, before each, and after each hook. And we are going to see what are the nested suits, as well as we will try to cover skip and focus test. These three topics are very small, but it's very, very important whenever we are writing our test cases. Now let's see how we can write them. Let's flip to the Visual Studio. In our previous video, we have learned about different type of Chai assertion styles, expect, should, and assert, and also we have learned how to write common Chai assertions for different type of data types for all the three assertion styles. Now in this video we are going to cover about hooks. So first of all, let's know what is hooks, okay. So hooks are special functions that allow you to set up and tear down your test environment. They provide a way to perform common tasks before or after your test cases, such as initialization of the variables, starting a server, or cleaning up resources. Mainly in Mocha we have four type of hooks: before each, after, and after each, okay. So now we will see how we can write the hooks, and then after that how we can utilize them, okay. Now here in our test folder I'm going to create a new file as a hook.spec.ts. Now let's write our test suits. So describe, we know that how we can write it, and then we have to give the description, hooks test, and then we have to pass our fat arrow function. Okay, and inside this describe we can write our hooks. Okay, so now let's write our first hook as a before. Syntax is very simple. Inside this function we have to pass our fat arrow function, and inside this before I'm going to write console. Okay, and I'll write it here before. Okay, similarly I'll write the other hook as well after, and we have two more hooks as well. So here I'll write before each, and similarly we will write for after each. Okay, now here before each, and this is after each, and this is for after. Okay, why I have written in this order? Because these hooks are getting executed in the same order. Okay, first of all our before hooks is getting executed, then after that before each, after each, and after. Okay, this before is going to be executed only once before the execution of all of our test cases. Okay, and this after is also going to be executed only once after execution of all the test cases. Okay, and this before each and after each is going to be executed for each and every test cases. Now let me write some test cases over here. I'll copy test cases from the calculator class. So I'll copy these two, sum and subtract. I'll write here in between before each and after each. Let's import this calculator class as well. Import calculator, and let's import this expect from Chai. Okay, now let me minimize this, control K0. Okay, so let me first format this, control A, control KF. So now it's formatted, so it's all minimized now. Okay, so see here we have before each and these two test cases, and here we have after each and after. Now let's run these test cases. Let me open another terminal here, npm run test command, npm run test. Okay, so here it's getting executed, but if you see, we are able to see the other test cases as well. Okay, as of now we are just trying to focus on hooks test only, but what happening, we are seeing this assert style and calculator test cases as well. So whenever we are trying to focus on a specific test, we have to just write here describe dot only. Okay, so now what will happen, only this test case is going to be executed because we are now focusing on this test case only. And here we have skip also. Okay, so if we want to skip some specific test, then we can skip those and we can execute only the required test cases. And this only can be applied on test suite as well as on test cases both. Okay, so here we are just focusing on the hooks test, so we have written on only on the describe test suites. Now let's run it once again. So now what will happen, we will be able to see the test cases for hook test only. Forget about this coverage report as of now. Let me just show you here. See, this is our test suite hook test. So if you see here, before each called only once before the execution of both of the test cases. Okay, and you see after is also called only once after execution of both test cases. Okay, so before and after is going to be called only once. And now if you see before each and after each getting executed for each and every test cases here, right? So now I hope you understood about how to write hooks and how many type of hooks we have. Okay, now we will see what is the importance of hooks and how we can utilize them. So now if you see here in these both test cases, we are instantiating this calculator class in both of the test cases. That is not required. Okay, so what we can do, we can instantiate this particular class in our before. So here I'm going to instantiate it. Okay, and now let's make a variable over here. Let calc is type of calculator. Now it's been instantiated, and here we can use the calculate.add and expect the result. Okay, similarly we have to remove this line from here, it's not required anymore. This calc would be available at this test case as well. Okay, so now if you see, we have simplified our test cases, we have removed our instantiation from each test cases, and we have mentioned it here in our before hook. Now if you run the test cases once again, so it's going to be work as it is. See here, both of the test cases is getting passed. So this is how that we are going to use our hooks. Okay, I'll show you some other examples for the before each, after each and after hooks once we are going to stub and use the Sinon library. But for now, just try to remember that this is the way that we are writing our hooks. And here I cover about skip and only. If we want to skip this test case, so we can just write here skip. Okay, so now these two test cases is going to be skip. Let's see that npm run test. So skip and only is being used if you want to focus on a specific test. Now you can see these two test cases are skipped. If you see 2 pending and 8 passing. Okay, and if you want to focus on a specific this test suite only, so we have to write here only. Now only these two test cases will be executed and rest other test cases will be ignored. Okay, it is very important once we are writing our test cases and we are focusing for a specific test suite only. Now see here, only hooks test suites is executed. So we have covered our hooks and we have covered our skip and only. Now let's cover about nested suites. Nested suites is nothing, it's just having the test suite inside another test suite. Okay, some of the time what is required, we have a function and inside that function we have to write the test cases for the multiple functionality. So what we can do here, suppose that here we have a describe and here inside that we are going to write one more describe. I'll write for add test suite and I'll give my fat arrow function here, and this add I will give this test case. Okay, and I'll write one more test suite which is subtract. Okay, and I will take this subtract inside this subtract. Okay, and I will take this before each and after each before execution of both of the test suites. Okay, now let's run this. So what we are doing here, we have written our one test suites and inside that test suite we have written one test suite for sum and one test suite we have written for the subtract. Now let's run the test cases once again. Open a new terminal here and npm run test. Okay, now if you see here, this is our main test suite. Okay, hooks test, and inside this we have two more test suites which are add test suites and subtract test suites. So add test suites are from here to here. Okay, and subtract test suites are from here to here. Okay, so this is my add test suites and this is my subtract test suites, and their test cases are executed inside those test suites. And before the execution of both of the test suites, and here after execution of the both of the test suites. So this is how we can use the nested test suites. We can have a multiple nested test suites inside that, but in the practical example we would be having only 2 to 3 levels, not more than that, but you can use as many as you want. Now I hope that you understood about hooks, type of hooks, and how we can use hooks. Now let me commit this code so you can get the reference from the GitHub. Add a git bash terminal, git status. So if you see here, as of now we have only one files, rest of the files are already pushed to the GitHub. Now here we are going to git add. We can use dot if you are having multiple files. Anyway, we can use it. Git add file name. Now this file is being added. Now let's see if it's added or not. Git status. Now let's commit this file. Commit -m message. We can say as hooks session. Now git push origin master branch. Okay, now code has been committed. I'll provide the GitHub link to the description so you can get the reference from there. So friends, in this video we have learned about hooks and type of hooks and how we can use them, as well as we have covered about nested test suites and how we can write them. Additionally, we have covered about skip and only keyword which is being used to skip or execute any specific test cases. In the next section we are going to cover about Sinon library, where we are going to learn about spying, mocking and stubbing, and we are going to see what all the differences in between all of them. Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and welcome back to my channel Kumar Programming. In our previous video, we have learned about hooks. Mainly we have covered 4 type of hooks, that are before, after, beforeEach and afterEach, as well as we have learned how to write them and how we can utilize. Further, we have covered our nested test suites, as well as we have covered skipping and focusing test by using our skip and only keyword. In this video, we are going to learn about Sinon library, which is basically used for spying, mocking and stubbing functions. And I have seen most of the people are getting confused in between all of them. So here I'll try my level best to make you understand the basic concept of it with the practical demonstration. So now let's start. Before starting, friends, I have a humble request to all of you. If you have not subscribed this channel so far, please subscribe it and don't forget to press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. Because your each and every subscriptions gives me a lot of confidence to make the quality video for you. It's take a lot of time and a lot of effort to make these videos, so please support me and my channel by subscribing, sharing with the people who really need it. Now let's start. Now if you go for sinonjs.org, its official website for this library, here you can see Sinon standalone test Spies, Stubs and mocks for JavaScript, and it work with any unit testing framework. And if you go to the documentation, here you will see as of now the current version we are using 16. Here we have several topics, but mainly we are going to cover Spies, Stubs and mocks, because these are very most important topics which are being used commonly whenever you are writing your test cases. So now let's understand what is the difference between all of them. First of all, spy, stub and mock, all of them are applied on function or method. Okay, let's first start with spy. A spy is used to observe and gather information about function call. Spy do not change the behavior of the functions being spied on. They simply record information about function invocation. And spies are useful for tracking whether a function was called and how many times it was called and what argument were passed into it. Okay, we will try to understand these differences in the practical demonstration. However, on the other side, stub is used to replace a function or method with a simplified implementation. Okay, it changes the behavior of the function. Stub allow you to control the behavior of a function during testing, making it return predefined values or execute specific code. And stub are typically used to isolate the code under test from external dependency, like such as database calls or HTTP request. And on the other side, mock is a combination of spy and stub both. Okay, so mock is having a functionality of spy as well as stub, but there is a syntactical difference in between stub and mock. It not only observes the function's behavior but can also control it by specifying expected behavior and returns value. It records the information about the function as well as it changes the behavior of the functions. Mock are typically used when you want to verify that function was called with a specific argument and make it return a specific value. Okay, spying just used to gather the information about the function invocation, and stub to change the behavior of the function, and mock gather the information about the function call as well as change the behavior of the function. It would be more clear once we will see all these differences in our practical demonstration. So now let's flip to the Visual Studio. Now here I'm going to create a new file as spy stub at mock.spec.ts, and I'll copy the code from our previous video from hooks, and I'll remove this only from hooks, and here I'll mention spy stub and mock tests. Okay, so in order to use spy stub and mock, we are required to install Sinon library. So here npm install Sinon, and we will install its type as well. Okay, types, because we are writing in Typescript. Now if you see your package.json file, here it's installed as a dependency, right? But we are required to install it as a dev dependency. So now we will install it as a save dev as a dev dependency. Now it's moved from dependency to dev dependency. Okay, this nyc also required to install for the dev dependency only, but we will take care once we will discuss about the reporting and code coverage section. Now let's go to this spy stub mock.spec.ts. Now first of all, here we are going to import our Sinon library. So import Sinon from Sinon. Okay, So initially we will see the spy, how we can spy on a function. So let's create a variable as spy. Let spy, and that would be type of Sinon spy. Okay. If you see, Sinon spy is automatically imported from Sinon library here. Now see here in our describe section, we are writing our test cases to test this add functionality, right? But here we are not checking that how many times this function is being called and what all the parameters are being passed over here. So that we can check with the use of spy. Now let's create a spy on this add function. Syntax is very simple. Spy equal to Sinon.spy, and inside that we are spying on add method from calc object. So first of all we will give this calc, and then we will give the method name, and method name is add, right? So now we have created a spy on this add method, and in our assert section, and we know we are writing our test cases in three sections: arrange, act, and assert. Okay, so here I'm provide basically arrange section is to provide the data, act section is to take the action, and assert is to write our expectation, write our asserts. Okay, so now here what is our expectation? Expect this spy dot called once with parameter 2 and 3, right? Because see here we are passing the parameter 2 and 3, so we are passing the parameter over here 2 and 3 to be true. This is our expectation, right? And when we are using spy, stub, or mock, we have to restore them in order to avoid any issues on our actual function. Okay, so here is spy dot restore. That's it. Very simple, isn't it? So here we are spying on a method, add method from calc object, and we are required to check how many times this function is being called and what are the parameters are being passed over here. Okay. Similarly, we can do for the subtract. So I'll copy this line over here in the arrange section, and here we are passing the method as a subtract, and we can expect here expect spy dot called once with parameter 5 comma 3, right? Since see here we are passing the parameter 5 and 3, so same we are checking here as well to be true, and here spy dot restore. Got it? So it's very simple, right? Now let's run this test, npm run test, and if you see here our npm run test command is given over here already, that we have covered in our previous video. So if you see, our should return sum and should return subtract, both test case are being passed. Okay, now suppose that here we are passing 2 and 4, right? So what will happen, this expectation should be 4 2 and this would be 6, right? But here we are checking called ones with 2 and 3, so this is going to be fail. Now let's see that. Now see here, expected is true but actual is false. So here the actual is false, but we are expecting is this value should be true, right? However, if we could give here 4, then this test case is going to be pass. See, now our test case is being passed. This nyc report is creating confusion. For the time being, we are going to remove this, and we will see in detail in our upcoming videos whenever we are going to discuss our nyc reporting and code coverage. So let me remove it for now. So I'll put it as a test 1, and here in our test I'll remove this. Okay, now we can run our npm run test command, and we won't be able to see our report, so we can focus on test cases. So now see, both of our test cases, sum and subtract, is getting passed. So now we understood how we can spy on a function and how we can write the assertion for spy. Okay, now we will see stub. Now let's see the scenario where we can use stub. Let's go to our calculator class in our source folder. Here I'm going to write a function as a get random value, which is going to return a number. So this function is going to return a random value in between 1 to 10. So here I'll write math.random, and I'll multiply by 10 plus 1, and I'll take the floor value of this number. I'm multiplying by 10 over here because it's going to return a decimal value. So here math dot floor, right, of the entire value, and I'll make it return. Okay, so this get random value is going to return a random value in between 1 to 10. Now I'm going to call this function over here in our add function. Here const, I'll take a variable as a c, and I'll this dot get random value. Okay, now I'm going to return a plus b plus c. Okay, right, now we have to write the test case for our this function, and if you see here, this get random value function is returning a value, and that value is having dependency on result of add functions. Okay, now let's run these test cases. You will see now our add test case is going to be fail. Now see, expected is 6 but actual value is coming 11. Why? Because this we are adding this random value in our result. Okay, so what we can do, we can stop this function and we can return some fixed value, and we can test the functionality for add function. Okay, so now let's see how we can do that. Here we are going to create a variable for stub. Let stub, it would be type of Sinon stub. So if you see, Sinon stub is automatically imported from Sinon library. Now in our add, here I'll write stub. So what I'm going to stub here, Sinon.stub. Similarly, we have to write as we have written in our spy. So here we are going to stub calc, and the function name is get random value. Okay. Now if you see here, here we can return the value in stub. Okay. So here I'm going to return 2. Okay. Now what will happen whenever we are going to call this function add, then inside this add function, this get random value function is going to be stub with value 2. Okay, this add function is going to return 2, 4 and this 2, so total it's 8, right? So now we are not having the dependency, we have removed our dependency on our get random value functions. Now it doesn't matter what it is being returning. Okay, so we have changed the behavior of the function, right? Earlier this function was returning random value. Now from the stub we are returning it a fixed value as 2. Okay, which is going to be passed inside this add function and gets calculated the result as 8. Okay, and in our assert section already we have written our assertion as a result to be equal to 8, and finally we have to write our stub.restore in order to avoid the functionality from the actual function. Okay, whenever we are using spy, stub and mock, we have to always restore. Now let's see if our test case is working as expected. Now it should be working. See, now our should return some test case is getting passed. Okay, so whenever testing the functionality of a function and that function is dependent on some other function, in that case we can stub those dependent functions and we can return some fixed value from them. So this is how that we can use the stub. I hope that you are understanding how we can use spy and how we can use stub and in which scenario that we are using them. Now we'll see mock, which is a combination of spy and stub both. In order to illustrate mock, let me create a function inside our calculator class. Here I'm going to write a function log message, and here I'm passing message as an input parameter to be type of string, and inside this function I'll write console.log message. Simple, right? And we are not going to return anything from this function. Now let's call this function here, this dot log message, and we are going log here, logging add function. Okay, and similarly we are going to call same in our subtract function as well. Okay, so here logging subtract function, right? So see, this function is calling independently, and add function is not having any dependency on this log message, so we can use here mock and we can mock this function. Okay, now let's see how we can do that. here let's create a variable as mock. Let mock, which would be type of Sinon mock. Now let's mock syntax is a bit different. So first of all, we are required to create the expectation. Okay, let expectation equal to mock dot expects. What we are expecting here, this log message is called exactly once with argument. Let's see what was the argument here. Logging add function, right? With the argument logging add function. So now if you see here, this mock is behaving as spy. Here we are checking this log message is calling exactly once with the argument logging add function. Okay, so this act like spy. Okay, but the syntax is different. Here we can write returns as well. However, this function is not returning anything, so we are not going to call this return. Okay, and what we have to do in our assert section, we have to write our expectation dot verify. So whatever we have expected here in our arrange section, that we need to verify here. That's it. Okay, and here finally we have to mock dot restore. Okay, that's it. Now similarly we will do for our subtract function as well. If you see, we have written our log message for the subtract, so we need to write our test cases. So I'm going to call this and take in our arrange section here log message logging subtract function. Okay, and this expectation, and here we can write our expectation dot verify. Okay, very simple. And finally we need to write our mock dot restore. Okay, now let's run this test and pm run test. Okay, so here we are getting error as a can't read property of undefined reading expects. Okay, so reading expects and this is undefined. Okay, we are missing here to instantiate. So here we will write our mock equal to Sinon dot mock, and what we have to mock, we have to mock our calc object. Okay, now this mock should be instantiated. Similarly we can write this code here as well. Now let's run it once again. Now if you see here, our both of the test cases is getting passed, should return sum and should return subtract. Okay, now one thing, if you notice, we are calling these lines again and again here, right? Spy dot restore, mock dot restore. So what we can do, we can remove these lines from here and we can call this after each, right? So let me call this in after each, and we can remove it from here. Okay, we can remove it from here as well. Okay, and if you see this mock, Sinon mock also we are calling in both of the functions. So what we can do, we can remove it from here and we can call inside our before each hook. Okay, right, every time we are going to instantiate, so we can remove this function from here as well. Okay, so now it's a bit simple, and here there could be possibility if might be we are not using our stub or spy in any function. Like see here in our subtract we are using spy and we are using mock, but we are not using stub. Okay, but after it this stub is going to be restore. Okay, so at that time it's not instantiated. So what we can do here, we can check if spy is there, then we have to store. Okay, and similarly here we can check if stub is there, then we can stub dot restore, and if mock is there, then we can do the mock dot restore. Now let's format the code, control A, control KF. Now code is formatted. Now let's run it once again. So if you can see here, our should return sum and should return subtract, both of the test cases is getting passed. Now let's quickly debug this application and see what exactly happening behind the scene for our spy, stub and mock. So here I'll put a debug point in our test case for some functions, and then I'll put a debug point in our calculator class. So here I'll put a debug point for add method, as well as I'll put for the get random value function and log message. Okay. Now let's debug this quickly. I'll use JavaScript debug terminal. Now if you see here, my JavaScript debug terminal is ready. So here I'll run my command npm. So here I'll run my command npm run test. Yeah, so my debugger came here. Now let's go one by one here. So if you see here, we are spying our add function from calc object. Okay, and here we are stubbing our get random value function and returning the value 2. Now let's move ahead, and here we are mocking our log message function. Now let's move ahead. Now our actual function is going to call, right? Now our debugger will move to our calculator.ts file. See, now it moved to the calculator.ts file. Now you will see it's not going to call this function. This is the actual function and it's not going to call that. Okay, so see, so our debugger didn't go there. Okay, now if you see, we have stubbed this get random value function as well, right? So this is also not going to be called. Okay, see, we got the value as 2, right? Because we are returning the value as a 2 from the stub. If you see here in our function, we are returning the value 2 and we have stubbed this value. Okay, so that is the reason here we are getting the return value as 2. Okay, so now here we are changing the behavior of the function. Okay, so we are not calling the actual function, we are mocking and we are stubbing the function. Okay, now if you return the value, now it's got failed because of timeout. So let's change the timeout here in our test function, this timeout, let's give uh, around 30 seconds. Okay, let's run it once again, npm run test. Okay, so I'll run it quickly. Yep, if you see here, our both of the test cases is being passed. So now I hope you understood the behavior of spy, stub and mock and how we can use them. I'll push this code to the GitHub and provide the link to the description so you can take the reference from this code. In the next section, we are going to learn about asynchronous testing by using our async await keyword. And friends, there is a humble request: if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it and don't forget to press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. Hello friends, my name is Kumar and welcome back to my channel Kumar Programming. In our previous video, we have learned about spying, mocking and stubbing functions by using Sinon library, and we have learned about the differences among all of them. Now in this video, we are going to learn about asynchronous testing by using async await keyword, as well as we will see how to test our promises. Okay, so now let's start. Here in our current project, inside our calculator.ts file, here I'm going to create a asynchronous method. Okay, here I'll write async function promise. Okay, inside this function we are going to return a promise. So here return new promise, and promise takes two parameter as a resolve and reject. So here inside this we will have a callback function, and inside this we have resolve and reject, right? And inside this we are going to call our set timeout function. Set timeout syntax is very simple. Here inside this function we have to pass our callback function. So it takes two parameter, one is callback function, second one is time. Okay, so if you see here timeout, so here I'll give 1 second, 1000 milliseconds. Okay, and inside this function callback function, here I'll use resolve. I'm resolving from here value 4. Okay, that's it. So here I have created a very simple function, asynchronous function, where I'm returning a promise, and that promise is returning value 4. Okay, after 1 second. Now we have to write the test cases for this function. Now let's go back to our test folder. Here I'll create a separate file as async await promise.spec.ts. Okay, so first of all, here we will write our test suite. So we know how to write our test suite, describe, and inside describe here we will give the description as async await and promise test suites. Okay, and our second parameter would be the callback function. So here we'll write our fat arrow function, and inside this I'm going to create a variable as let calc, that would be type of calculator. Okay, so if you see here, calculator is auto imported over here. Now here we will write our test case, and we know how to write our test case by using it method. Here we will give the description should work with async await. Okay, async and await, and the second parameter would be our callback function as a fat arrow function. Okay, for the test we know we have to write our test cases in the 3A pattern. First one is arrange, second one is act, and third one is assert. Okay, now in the arrange section, what we will do first, we will instantiate our calculator class. So here calc equal to new calculator class. Now we have instantiated our calculator class in arrange section. Now come to the act, we'll create a variable over here as a const result equal to calc dot. Here we have our async function promise. Okay, and in the assert section we will write our expect. This expect is imported from Chai library. Now expect result to equal to 4, right? Why? Because here if you see in our calculator class we are resolving this promise as a 4. So this is absolutely fine when we are having a normal function, but this is not our normal function, this is our asynchronous function. Okay, so it's not going to work. So here what is going to happen, all the test cases is going to be executed. We will focus on this test suite is going to be executed. So we will write our npm run test. So it's going to be fail, right? Why? Because we have not handled our asynchronous functions. See here, assertion error expected promise to equal to 4. So this is getting failed. So how we can handle this? Okay, so here in order to handle our asynchronous functions, here we have to write our async keyword, and wherever we are calling our asynchronous function, we have to write our await keyword. Okay, as simple as that. By using our async await, for the function at the function level we have to write async, and wherever we are calling our asynchronous function we have to write await. So what will happen, this function is going to return value as 4, and which we are expecting over here. Okay, so now this test case is going to be pass. See, now async await and promise test suite, and inside this test suite this test case is getting passed. Okay, this is the one way of handling this asynchronous function. There is another way that we can handle this asynchronous function by resolving our promise. So here what we have to do, I'll remove this async keyword, and we remember that whenever we are using async we have to use await. Okay, so here I'll remove, and I'll remove this one as well. Okay, so this function is returning a promise, and we know how we can resolve our promise by using then method. So then, and inside then we have to pass our fat arrow function as a callback function, and this callback function is having a parameter as a result. Whatever the promise is going to return, it's going to be value inside the result. Okay, so we are going to copy this line from here, and we can expect here, right, our result to be equal to 4. We remember that this result variable is accessible inside this then method only. If you try to access this result method outside of this then method, it won't be accessible. Okay, now let's run this test case. Here we are doing our act as well as assert both inside our then function. Okay, now let's run this test case, npm run test. See, both of the test cases are getting passed. So now here we have learned about how to handle our asynchronous functions while writing our test cases by using our async and await keyword, as well as by resolving our promise using then method. So I hope friends that you have understood about how to write our test cases by our asynchronous functions. In the next section, we are going to learn about very important library as Nock and how to mock our API and its data. Okay. Friends, there is a humble request. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it and don't forget to press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. And still, if you are having any doubts, please write me in the comment section and definitely I'll try to respond for those comments as soon as possible. I'll push this code to the GitHub and provide the link to the description. Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and welcome back to my channel Kumar Programming. In our previous video, we have learned about how to write the test cases for our asynchronous functions by using our async await keyword, as well as we have learned how to write the test cases for promises by resolving using then method. Now in this video, we are going to learn about how to write the test cases for our get post API functions. And then after that, we will see why we require to mock our API calls and its data. That we are going to mock our API call and data by using Nock library. So now let's start. But before starting, friends, I have a very humble request to all of you. If you have not subscribed this channel, please subscribe it and press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. So now let's get started. Let's flip to the Visual Studio. So now here just a recap that what we have done in our previous video. So basically here we have created a asynchronous functions by using our setTimeout method. Here we are returning a promise by resolving value as 4. And then after that we have written our test cases here by using our async and await keyword. And in our second method we have resolved our promise by using then method. Now in this video we are going to write test cases for API. So I'm going to use here API as a Web API as a JSON placeholder.type.com. This is the free fake API for testing and prototyping. And here I'm going to use these resources as a user for the get request as well as post request. Okay. So now let me show you quickly what I'm going to write the code and test it. So I hope that you are aware about this Postman tool which is being used to test our API. Let me just create a request over here. So I'm going to use this API and from here I'm going to use this users. I'm going to get the list of all the users by using get method. Okay, so if you see here we are seeing the list of all the users. Now I want to find out only the user which is having the ID 1. Okay, so here in the path parameter I'll pass ID 1 and I'll send this request, and if you see here now I'm getting the user which is having ID equal to 1. Okay, so this is the get request that we are going to use, and now I'll show you the post request. So I'll make a post request from here. In order to have the post request, we have to pass the user detail that which we are going to insert into the database. So in the body section, I'm going to insert the user data here, and I'll make it as a JSON format here. So first of all, I have to select here raw and in the form of the JSON. Okay. So I'll go to the get request responses and I'll just copy this complete response from here. Okay. Now I'll remove this ID because that ID is going to be generated from the backend system. And here I'll just change the name and username detail, Kumar Programming. I'll give the name as a Kumar Programming here and user as a Kumar. I'll keep the other details as it is. Now I'm going to make this request as a post. So here you can see I'm getting the response as a 201, right? It means that my resource is being created and we have inserted the record to the database. And if you see here, we are having our user ID 11. And if I go here in our user, we have a 10 users here, right? So our the new user is going to be created with ID 11, which we are getting over here, right? So now we are going to use this API for our user resources for our get and post method. So in order to use these APIs, let me flip to the Visual Studio. Here in our calculator class, I'm going to write a function over here as a get user. Okay. And now here what I'll try to do, I'll try to fetch record from our APIs. Okay. So here I'm going to return. In order to fetch the data from our API, I'm going to use here Axios library. So let me install Axios, npm install axios Axios. So now this library is being installed. So here let import this library, import Axios from Axios. Okay. And here we will do return axios.get. You can use any library like http node fetch in order to fetch the data from API, but here I'm using Axios because this is the most popular library as of now in the industries. So axios.get, I'll put the URL over here for our API, and which is nothing, paste it over here. And we know that whenever we are calling our API, always return a promise. So definitely we have to write here await keyword, and this call is going to be asynchronous. So we have to write here async. So this is nothing. This is our asynchronous functions, and we are returning a promise from this API. Okay. Similarly, we will write for our save user. Okay. So here I'm going to write for our save user, and here we are going to call our post method, post. And what else that we have to do, we have to pass our payload, right? So here I'll write user, and we must have to pass this payload over. So here we are going to fetch the record by using get method from our API, and here we are going to save the user by using post method. Okay. Now let's refactor this code a bit. Here if you see, this base URL is common, so I'll make a base URL variable over here. This is my base URL, and then I'll use here template literals, and inside this backtick $, and then curly bracket, we will use base URL, and after that we will use this users one. Okay. Now I'll remove this, and similarly we will copy it from here and paste it. So now it's better. Now we have to write the test cases for this. So let's go to our test folder. Here I'll create a file as get post API and mocking. Okay, .spec.ts. So here we will write our test suite as a describe, and we will give the description as a API testing, and then in the second parameter I'll pass the fat arrow function. Now inside this I'll write our test case for our get method. We know we have to write our test cases by using it method. So here I'll use it, and then here I'll write our description for test. So this should make a get request from API. Okay. Now again here we are going to call a callback function. Now here we have to write our test case for our get user functions, right? So first of all, let me create an object for our calculator class, const calc equal to new calculator, right? Now we need to call our get user function. So here const response equal to calc dot get user, right? We remember that this is a asynchronous function, so we must have to use await keyword, and whenever we are using await keyword, we should be using async keyword as well. Okay. So now here in our test case, first section arrange, and this is our act, and now it's time to assert. Okay. So in the assertion, what we have to write, we have to expect. Now if you see, expect is automatically imported from Chai library. Expect this response dot status to equal to 200, right? What it should be 200. Now what else we have to write? Expect this response dot data dot id, right, to equal to 1. We know that we are going to fetch the user for user id 1, and here we are expecting that this response status would be 200 as well as the data id would be 1. Okay. Now let's run this test case. I'll just try to run this test case only. So let me try to find out if we have any other describe.only in this application. Yes, we have async await promise, so I'll remove it from here. Now we have only one, so this test case is going to be executed, right? And rest of other test cases is going to be ignored. Now let's see npm run test. Now if you see, this API testing is getting executed, and this test case should make a get request from API is successfully passed. But if you see here, it took around 418 milliseconds. We will talk about it later in this video. And now we will write similarly for our post method. Okay, so let's write for our post method as well. Here should make a post request from API, right? And here we are going to call calc.saveuser, and we have to pass our user payload, right? So now let's create a variable over here as a user payload, const user payload. I'll copy the response from here, and from here I'll remove this ID, right? Because this ID is going to be generated from the backend system. And here I'll change this Kumar programming, and here I'll change the username as a Kumar. I'll make the other detail as it is here, but this is our user payload which we are going to pass in our post request. Okay, and as of now I'll make this object as a type any. Now what will happen here, we are going to save our user by using our post method. Okay, now this status would be 201 because resource is going to be created into the database. That would be the successful response, and here ID would be 11, right? Now let's run the test case once again. Pm run test. See, now our both of the test cases is successfully passed. Should make a get request from API and should make a post request from API. Now here is a problem. If you see here, these test case are taking around 342 milliseconds, and this test case is taking around 253 milliseconds because we are calling the actual API to get the response, right? But suppose that we are having 1,000 of test cases, so it's going to be a impact on the performance while doing our integration testing. So it is better to have mock our API response. So we should not call the actual API, rather than we should mock their responses. Okay, and that we can do by using our Nock library. So now let's first of all install our Nock library. Through that we are going to mock our API response. So here npm install Nock. So our Nock library is installed. So now we will mark our response from our API, right? So here first we will mock our get response. So here I'll use our Nock library. So Nock, see here, Nock is automatically imported. Nock, and I'm going to knock this API, right? So here already we have created our base URL. I'm going to use the same. This is our base URL. I'm going to use same URL over here as well. So I'm going to knock this base URL and then get your user for ID 1. Okay, and what we have to return here as replay 200 response, that is okay response, and we have to return our mocked user response. Okay, so here I'll mocked user response. Now we will create this mocked user response. Very simple. Here const mocked user response as a ID equal to 1 and name equal to Kumar programming. Okay, that's it. So what we have done, we have mocked our API as well as get request. Okay, and what we are returning as a 200 okay response as well as this mocked user response. Okay, so now what will happen, this function will be called, but it's not going to call the actual API. Okay, it will call the API, but it will return this mocked response from the API. Now let's see that. So I'll take a debug point over here, and I'll take a debug point in our get user function. Okay, so I can show you that this function is getting called. Okay, I'll debug my application now. I'll use JavaScript debug terminal. Now here I'll write our command npm run test. So now debugger is attached. So now this hit this breakpoint get user function, but before that we have already mocked this response. Okay, so now what will happen? It will call this function. See, this get user function is getting called and it's calling to our get calling to our API, but it's not going to return the actual data which is returning from here because we have mocked it through our Nock library. So it's going to return whatever the response that we are returning from our mocked response. Now let's now see, if you see the response here, we are having status 200, as well as in the data if you see we are having ID and Kumar programming. Okay, so we are getting this response from our API. So our API is getting called, but we are not getting the actual response. Okay, now let's finish it. So this is giving error. Why? Because of timeout. Okay, so I'll delete this debug point now, and for the time being I'm just going to comment this our post test case. Now let me run it once again, npm run test. Okay, so hopefully this test case should be passed. Yeah, see here, now this test case is getting pass, but if you see here still it's taking 106 millisecond, but it is significantly lower than the previous one. Okay, now similarly we will do for our post method as well. Okay, so I'll uncomment this for now, and this is our user payload, and here I'm going to use Nock library and mock our response. Nock, what we have to knock? Base URL. Okay, base URL dot post, and inside this post we are going to users, right? And we must have to pass our payload here, right? And then what we have to return from this mock? Replay, as replay here, and it's going to return status as a 201 because we are creating the resource, we are inserting the record. So your 201 and then expected response. Okay, user response. And what would be the expected user response? Const expected user response would be equal to, so it would be similar to this, right? Along with the additional information as ID equal to 11, right? Now we have mocked our response here. Now this should be working as expected. Now let's run this test case once again, npm run test. So it's giving error as I expected, undefined to equal to 11. So here we are getting this response.data.id as a undefined. Let's see why. So okay, basically we have given in a backtick, that's the reason. Now let me run it once again, npm run test. So here it should be in id like this. Okay, in the form of JSON. Break this for now. Let's run it once again. See, our both of the test cases is getting pass here, right? And here just remember that it doesn't matter what all the values you are going to give here, right? It doesn't matter. So if I remove all those things, it's absolutely okay. Okay, because here we are mocking our response, and here forcefully that we are saying that this API should return this response. So see, here we have mocked our response, and then this save user is function is being called from the API, and we are getting this response from the API which we are testing over here. Okay, so our main motive is to test this function, not to the API, right? This function needs to be called, and this function needs to be, the response needs to be having this status and value. Okay, and be remember that whenever we are mocking anything we have to be make it clean. Okay, so here I'll use the after hook, and here inside this after hook I'll pass a callback function, and here I'll use the knock dot clear all. Okay, sorry, clean all. and these both of the test cases should be working as expected. Okay. So friends, in this video we have learned how to write the test cases for our get and post API calls, as well as how we can mock our API responses. Okay. I'll push this code to the GitHub and provide the link to the description so you can take the reference from there. In the next section, we are going to learn about code coverage and reporting by using our nyc-Istanbul tool. And friends, if you have learned from this video, then please don't go without subscribing this channel, because your each and every subscription gives me a lot of confidence and moral support to make the videos for you. So please keep supporting me and my channel and share this video to the people who really need it. Hello everyone, my name is Kumar and welcome back to my channel Kumar Programming. Friends, in our previous video, we have learned about how to write the unit test cases for our get post API methods. And then after that, we have also learned about how we can mock our API calls and data. And now in this video, we are going to cover about code coverage and reporting by using our nyc-Istanbul tool. So let's start. Code coverage is a very important aspect from the testing perspective, and most of the companies are asking about more than 90% code coverage from any application. So today we will learn about how we can see our code coverage and how we can do the reporting. Let's understand about the nyc-Istanbul tool. nyc-Istanbul is a code coverage tool for the JavaScript that can be used to track how much of your code is being tested, and it can be integrated with the test runner like Mocha that we are doing as of now, as well as it can be integrated with the Jasmine as well as Jest, and it also generate the code coverage report. And this tool collect information about which part of your code were executed during the test and provide a report that shows the code coverage percentage, as well as it highlight the line of the code that were not executed from the code. So we will learn about all those things step by step in our practical demonstration in this video. So let's start. Before starting this video, friends, I have a very humble request to all of you. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it and press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all of my upcoming videos. And friends, please support me and my channel by subscribing it and sharing these videos to the people who really need it. Your each and every subscription gives me a lot of confidence and moral support to me to make these videos for you. So without wasting much more time on it, let's start. Now let's flip to the Visual Studio. So in order to configure our nyc-Istanbul tool, we have to install nyc and pm install nyc. If you remember that already we have installed nyc in our first part of this series under configure and installation. And if you see here inside our dependency, we have already installed this nyc tool, right? But this nyc is a dev dependency, so we are going to move as a dev. So here we will install as a save dev. So now this is going to be moved from dependency to dev dependency. So you can see here now my nyc has been moved from dependency to dev dependency. And now let's see here. If you see here in test one, here we have to use nyc before Mocha. So I'm just going to change this name as a test coverage. So now let's run this test coverage over here, npm run test coverage. So here you can see we are seeing the coverage detail over here. It's showing only 26% because we are executing for only couple of test cases. So let me just see where we have only. Yeah, here we have only. So I'll remove this. So what will happen now? All the test cases is going to be executed from this calculator.ts file. I hope that we don't have any other dot only. Okay, so here you see couple of test cases are getting failed. This is related to should return sum from the test calculator class. So it would be here. It's failing because already we have changed this add method and we have developed it earlier. So that's the reason it's failing now. So I'll just make it comment for the time being. And let's see the hook test also. This should be also related with the sum, I believe. Yeah, this is related to the sum only. So I'll comment it for now. Now let's run it once again. Yes. So now you can see here, as of now, we have only one file, right, in our source folder. So in case you are having multiple files over here, then all those files will be displayed here and you will be able to see how much code is being covered. Okay, so see here we have our 94% as a statement and 100% as a branch, and function 90% have been covered, and lines are 94.73% have been covered, right? But if you see uncovered lines, it's a 25 number, 25 line is uncovered. So now we can see what all the lines are uncovered in the report. So let me tell you how we can see that. So first of all, we need to configure our nyc tool. So here we will create one more file as a .nyc-rc. Okay, for now I'm going to paste the configuration over here that you can use also the same, and I'll explain you each and every field over there. This is our nyc-rc configuration we have, and if you see here include, we are including this source folder. Okay, and exclude, we are going to exclude this our test folder. We have to execute our test case and report it on this folder itself. Okay, on this classes itself. And what would be the extension would be .ts file, typescript file. Okay, and what would be the reporter? lcov text and text summary. Okay, and here we have given us a check coverage is true, and how much percentage that we are going to cover. Okay, I mean, like, what would be the threshold? So here for lines we have given 95, statement we have given 95, function also 95, and branches 95. So overall our code coverage should be there more than 95%. Okay, then it would be success. So most of the companies are asking about more than 90%. So here I have taken as a everything as a 95%, and the report is going to be generated inside the report directory as a test report. Okay, so now save it and run the test cases once again, npm run test coverage. Now we would be able to see here our test report folder, and inside that we can see our report. Okay, so here you can see we are seeing our test report folder, and here if you see it's showing error as a coverage for the lines 94.73 does not meet with the global threshold as a 95%. So it's not meeting with the 95% because here we have set the threshold as a 95%. Okay, and here we are, the test case are not written for this line, so this is uncovered. And if you see here total coverage summary that we are seeing here this report because of this text summary, and here we are getting the complete, I mean, like, how many statements are being completed. 2 branches out of 2 branch have been covered here, 10 functions have been covered out of 11, and 18 lines covered out of 19 lines. Okay, now let's see the report here. In order to see the report, we have to go to the lcov report folder, and here you will find index.html. Let's reveal in the file explorer, and I will open in the Chrome browser. Okay, now here you can see whatever the files you will be having, you will be seeing the list of all the file over here, and you will see how much statement, branches, functions and lines are being covered. Okay, now if you see which code is not being covered, because it's only covered 94%. So let's see how we can see which line is not being covered. So if you see here, get random value. Okay, these lines are not covered, we have not written the test case for this line. Okay, so that's the reason its statement and functions and lines are not 100%. So we will write the test case for get random value function. So let's quickly write the test case for this function. So go in our calculator.spec.ts. Here I'll write the test case for our random, should return random value from 1 to 10, right? So here we will, so here we have in the arrange section we have instantiated our calculator class. Now in the act section we are going to call our random function. So here I'll make a variable as a const random number equal to calc dot get random value, right? And this is going to be generate the number in between 1 to 10, right? So we have to test over here in our assert section. It would be expect this random number to be at least, first of all we have to check at least 1, right? It should be at least 1, and second thing that we can check at most would be 10, right? So now we have written the test cases for our random function as well. Now let's run this test case once again. Now hopefully we would be getting our 100% report since we have already covered our random function as well. Now if you see, we have covered our statement 100%, branches, function and lines, everything that we have covered 100%, and there is no uncovered line as of now, right? As well as in the summary also, if you see, we have covered everything like 19 out of 19, 2 out of 2 branches, 11 out of 11 functions, and 19 line out of 19 lines completely. Okay, now we can see the report as well. Now if you just refresh this report, see, now we have covered our this function as well, so there is no highlighted lines. Now if I go back, and you can see here my this calculator.ts is 100% completed in each and every sections. Okay, so friends, I hope that you understood about how we can see our code coverage and how we can see the report by using our nyc-Istanbul tool. So friends, now I'm going to complete this series for our Mocha Chai unit testing in TypeScript and Node. But still, if you are having any issues or any concerns, you can just reach out to me on my Facebook or Twitter, and you can comment below, and I'll try to provide you update on that as soon as possible. I'll push this code to the GitHub and provide the link to the description so you can take the reference from there. And friends, if you have followed this series from the beginning, so I'm pretty much sure that as of now, at least you would be able to understand that how you can write your test cases and how to perform unit testing for your application. So friends, I have covered most of the basic concepts that is being used for our unit testing. And now if you are following from the beginning this series, then definitely you will be in the position to write the test cases and do your unit testing for your application. That's all for the day, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, take care.